Hey, welcome to a short tutorial how to use filters in your database to improve your poker game. Lately, I got a lot of questions in my blogs since I write about filters and error rates and all that kind of stuff. What's this all about? What do I do with the filters? How I use them? What am I filtering for? And all that kind of stuff. So basically, you can use PokerTracker or Hold'em Manager. Doesn't matter. I made like filters for both softwares, so it makes no big difference what software you use. And you can use those filters to make basically the bridge between theory and practice. So most of the time you learn a concept in theory by videos or by your own because you're looking at your database or whatever, reading books. It doesn't matter actually. And then you learn that concept and then you understand it. But oftentimes you fall into the trap that you theoretically know it, but you don't play like that concept in practice. So a lot of people have a game plan, and it's very useful to have a game plan, and you should have a standard game plan. There are basically two approaches. First, which is getting more and more popular, is the GTO approach. So you're trying just to play unexploitably and to play optimal in most cases. And the approach I use, which is an exploitative standard game plan, which is just this game plan which exploits most of the leaks, or which is adapted to the tendencies of the population you play against. So it's not necessary to have like always a GTO game plan. To be honest, I don't have a GTO game plan, a solid one. I'm having exploitative standard game plan, which I'm improving all the time by like coachings and by um, browsing my database and learning how my population plays, like the average player, what leagues does he have, what patterns does he have, and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into the practice. Let's say you have a game plan, you worked on your game plan with your coach or alone, and now you basically know what you should do. And now you can use PokerTracker to help you doing it in practice. And I will show you how. First, you have to go to your View Stats tab in PokerTracker and start filtering. I will show you some basic filters, um, how you can use that, and then how you can combine those filters to help you to spot all mistakes in your whole game plan within seconds. And um, let's start with, for example, the concept of delayed c-betting. It's pretty simple. My game plan is, if I'm not c-betting, like I'm the aggressor, but I'm not c-betting in position, and opponent checks to me again, I'm always betting, like 100%. Why? Pretty simple, because people are folding a shitload. Normally they don't trap and they bet all their strong hands. So if they're checking to you twice, in most situations they most likely will have a weak hand which you can fold out with two barrels. So my standard game plan is here pretty simple. If somebody checks to me twice, I'm just betting twice, like turn and river. So how can I now check if I'm doing that in reality? First, we have to filter for the action. So I would start like pre-flop. I posted the small blind. I'm at the moment only playing heads up, so to be in position I have to post a small blind. You obviously can also filter by in position, out of position, and that kind of stuff if you're a 6 max player. Then I want the flop opportunity to continuation bet, but I checked on the flop. Cool. So let's check what happens if we do that. It's always a very smart thing to check if you're getting the right results. So pre-flop action is always raise. That's nice, and flop action is always check. Cool. Now it gets a bit more complicated because sometimes PokerTracker filters are not that intuitive, but if you practice a little, you will get how to get the right spots. We want that our opponent checks to us on the turn, so that we actually have a delayed c-bet opportunity. So, which means we go to turn opportunities, and then we select, we would have a raise opportunity, which would basically mean that he would bet to us, because unluckily we can't just make a filter, or there is no filter for our opponent checking. So we're just assuming he's betting, and then we not make basically the negative. So if we would have a raise opportunity, then he would betting, and if we not this, then it means that he didn't bet, so he checked to us. So let's check it. If we're now getting the right hands. So we open raise, opponent calls, we check, and he checks again. So here we got our delayed c-bet opportunity. Now, it's pretty obvious if we hit the nuts or the very strong hands that we're betting that. So we should narrow down to make this filter more efficient to some weaker hands. For now, I mean, if you're doing it in detail, you can be very detailed about it. But I, for now, just go to mate hands and say, on the turn, where am I? Yeah, mate hands, high card, and I want to have, here it is, high card on the turn. So we are basically having air. Of course, there now will be draws in there and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to go too much into details. You can build the details in on your own. I just want to show you like the basic principles of filtering. So now we have high card and a turn, and to spot my mistakes, my game plan is to check, obviously, to bet, as I told you twice. So I'm to spot my mistakes, I'm just adding the filter of check turn. So now this filter gives me like every hand where I had high card on the turn and opponent checked to me twice and I checked behind. And now, since I'm actually supposed to bet twice in my session review, I'm just using that filters, and every day I'm going through that filter and looking, okay, do I have a reason why I checked behind? A reason could obviously be that he has a low fold to delayed c-bet stat, or for example, I have a note. Here I had like, okay, this guy is a maniac, adaption, do not delayed c-bet, because he called down delayed c-bet plus a barrel with ace high. So in this case, it's obviously okay to check back. Now another guy, we open raising, flop goes check check, and the turn he checks again, and here we check behind. So this is now a mistake, because this guy, we have 4 hands on the guy we don't know nothing about, but we know our population, so the average player folds in this kind of spot. I think it's more than 50% on flop, on turn, and on the river. So it's a mandatory bet with air, and it's very profitable. But I don't want to go into technical details about the game plan. I more want to go into filtering. So now this counts as a mistake. And what I do is just I go through the filters and count my mistakes and make like, okay, let's say error rate, where I'm just measuring how many mistakes in my game plan per 1,000 hands I make, and I'm just trying to get it lower. Because what happens if you go through the filters and you see it, you just train your brain for that spot. So now your brain knows, okay, in the spot, if I have like weak shit and I check behind on the flop, I often forget to delay c-bet. And now the next time you play and this spot happens, your brain is just more focused and more aware of that spot, and you will see that slowly your error rate in that area will go down, and you will play more perfectly there. So that's basically how you create the filter. And what I'm doing, I'm just clicking that and selected. Then you have like one filter, and then you can save this as a quick filter. So now we call this quick filter skip delayed c-bet. And then we can, if we clear the filters, we can then, you find it in that list, and you can just click it, and it automatically filters for that hands with that mistake. So, as we all know, we have more than one situation in our game plan. So I'm now going to show you a bit more complex filter, and then how to combine those filters that you have. Like I will show you how that looks like. It looks pretty amazing and complicated, but you will see it's not that complicated at all. This is like one of my big filters where I combined all my filters, and you see it's like huge, and it filters a lot of different situations. And with those combined filters, you can spot all your leaks very quickly. So very quickly. Sorry about that. And you don't have to go through the filters one by one. So I will show you another filter which you can use, and then I will show you how to combine those filters, that you just have to go through one filter, and it will show you all your mistakes that you're making in those areas. So let's start. Another situation which is a bit more complex would be like you have a sizing dependent game plan. Means, for example, you're calling an open raise pre-flop, and then you're facing a c-bet, and as most of you know, I think there's no big difference in an exploitative game plan or in an GTO game plan. We should call different ranges against different sizings. So of course, if opponent bets half pot, you will most likely call a different range than he bets pot. So what is necessary for that? First step is, again, filter for the actions. So we start pre-flop, obviously, and we said, again, I'm a heads-up player, so there are less opportunities, but I'm in a big blind, and I called a 2-bet, which is basically an open raise. So next is on the flop, I wanna have the opportunity to raise a continuation bet. It's like You will get used to it. It's sometimes a bit counterintuitive because there is no such stat like facing continuation bet in PokerTracker, but having the opportunity to raise, like PokerTracker always shows the situations as raise opportunities. So if you have the opportunity to raise a continuation bet, you're basically facing a continuation bet. Cool. So let's add this to our filters, save and apply filters, and let's just check what it gives us. So we're going to replay that hand. We're calling a big raise against this guy, and we're facing a c-bet. That's basically what we wanted. Let's just go through the hands. We see we only have hands where we called pre-flop. We only have hands where we're in a big blind and it's always like one raiser. So, but what we don't yet know is basically what do we want to do. So first, I just say I'll show you how to create a filter if you're facing something like a 3/4 pot bet, which is a bit more complicated. So first, I have to explain you the bet sizing filters. There is one huge difference. First is you want to filter for your bet sizing. So if you want to filter for your bet sizing, it's quite simple because you just type in the numbers of the percentage of the pot. So if you want to filter for like half pot, where you betted half pot, it's basically, or where you betted 10 big blinds, it's like this and all that kind of stuff. Where it get complicated a bit more, once you understood it, it's also not that hard, is flop actions accounted with sizing. So if I want to see how I'm reacting to a flop bet, which is like around 3/4, let's say between 70 and 80% of the pot, this is going to happen. You will have not a lot of hands, which is why it now filters for overbets. And I thought at the beginning this is like a bug or something, but it's not. It's just that PokerTracker calculates the bet sizing or the sizing when you're facing the bet differently. And I will shortly explain you how. So, when you're facing a bet, PokerTracker just says, okay, what percentage of the pot do you have to call? Which means if your opponent bets like in $100 pot and he bets pot size as well, you have to call like 50% of the pot, because he's basically he's betting 100, the pot is 100, so the pot is 200 total, and we have to call 50% of that. So it's basically, if you want a formula, it's to get those numbers, you will get used to them quite fast, but it's like opponent's bet through pot plus opponent's bet will give you the right numbers. So it's basically if you're in GTO or auto profit stuff, it's basically the same formula if you use with which sizing you have auto profit. So basically, if you bet let's say 2/3 of the pot, it would be 66 through 166 should be something like 40. Yeah, right. So, so you get the number of facing a bet on the flop. It's same on the river and on the turn, so it's a bit more complicated, but it works like this. So I said we want something like 3/4 pot. So if we bet 70 through 107, the first number is 41, and the second number would then be 80 through 180. So I want every hand where he betted like between 70 and 80% of the pot. So the second number would be something like 44, 45. So instead of facing a flop bet between 70 and 80, we just go there and use the sizings flop bet between 41 and 45% of the pot. And now let's check it. Add to filter, save and apply. Now there should be a lot more hands. Yes. And say we replay. And now we're facing around about 3/4 pot bet. Let's check it again. Yes, hooray. So now we filtered for that spot where we're facing a 3/4 c-bet. So let's enter a board texture as well, because we are basically not calling the same range on every board. So let's just go with the board cards on the flop. Let's say we want a king high board with 2 middle cards. So not that many boards, but doesn't matter. It explains the point. Basically, we have our boards here. So it shows we could filter out now paired boards as well to have like all those with king high and middle-ish connector. Then we could filter for the suit as well, but I don't want to make this video too huge. I'd rather go for the hand value filters that you understand them as well. And now I wanna have let's say my game plan to make it really simple is like I want to call every pair on that board. So on the flop we have a pair, and we want to call ace high, let's say. Oops, what am I doing? Made hands here on the flop. And there is no specific ace high filter, I just realized, which is not a big problem because we can just go to a whole card range selection and just click all the ace highs, which will have the same effect if we combine it like with the high card filter. So it shows us we have high card or a pair on the flop, and let's just go a little further and say we want to call obviously any straight draw, and let's see what happens. So now we have to combine the hand value filters now, because at the moment it says like mate pair on the flop and high card on the flop, which is basically impossible, so we have to put it to or. So now it should actually show us every time we have a pair, we have high card ace, or we have a straight draw. Okay, so let's check if that's true. Ace high, yep, ace high, pair. Okay, this is because of the paired board, it shows us a pair. That's why we should filter out paired boards, but doesn't matter for now. Ace high, this is again, okay, I'm going to filter this out because this sucks. Board pairing, flop is not paired so that we get decent results. So now it should work. Yeah, we have a pair, ace high, gotcha, ace high, and that kind of stuff. And now if we want to spot our mistakes, we just select our action on the flop as we check the flop and fold it to a bet. So those are basically now in my game plans the mistake, where check folded ace high on that kind of board because my game plan, let's say, would say to call that. And now I have, like, again, all my mistakes in that area of the game. And what I can do now is I once again make this to a small filter and save it like as wrong folds on king high plus middle card boards, whatever, something like that. I failed it. I'm saving that, and now I can combine the two filters I built today. For that, I just click Edit Quick Filters. Then I choose my what's called Skip Delayed CBET. Click Load Filters and append to the existing ones. Oops. So that's why I actually said we should make it to a small filter, because now it says like our first filter and the second filter, which will give us no results because it's different situations. So now I can just OR select it, and now it gives me one big filter which shows every time a folded hand wrong on the flop versus a c-bet, and all the skipped delayed c-bets. So basically this is will be more skipped delayed c-bets, but here we see, okay, those are, let's combine all those hands. Seems this month I haven't skipped a c-bet yet. So here we see like there are three wrong folds in there, which is like where folded ace high or a bottom pair, and the rest are delayed c-bets. So every time you build a filter, or what I do is just every time I learn a new concept, I build a filter and include it to my big filters. So I make sure that I never forget about that concept again, which makes your studying much more efficient, because basically you are guaranteeing that everything you study is then also applied in your game. If you have questions about that, just write it in the comments or in my blogs. I will try to answer them. I hope I could help you, and yeah, have fun building filters and improving your game with it.